In our country, in North America, we have what are called Canadian geese. And they're the large birds I alluded to yesterday, I mentioned. They fly in flocks. They live in groups. They fly together in flocks and migrate great distances. We're talking thousands of miles. Okay, and they fly high and they fly in a V shape. And the lead one is, the others are drafting off the leader as they fly in the V pattern. Talk about is called geese gab. Right? And Canadian geese work together far more than most people ever realize. When they're flying in a V pattern, they're drafting and they're helping each other. So as they fly like that, the leader is the one that's out front doing the greatest amount of work. Others in the V, as you see them fly, are all drafting off of that leader, having an easier time of the flight. Everybody knows that from North America, the Canadian geese honk, right? But you don't hear the leader honking. The leader doesn't make any noise. He's up there leading and working the hardest, using his breath to do the greatest amount of work. The honking is coming from behind, and it's usually different birds. You got two tones to every honk. It's honk, 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 honk. These are the birds that are drafting who are supporting the leader. They're supporting his efforts. And they will shift. If you watch a V flying through the air, it shifts and changes order. So they take turns. Take turns on the lead. So they're always supporting each other, talking to each other. So Canadian geese can fly 30% farther in a flock than they can fly individually. So they're supporting each other, they're talking to each other, they're building each other up, all the while. Every time you see a flock, you hear them usually before you see them. Even to the point where if one is injured or becomes sick, if one becomes injured or sick, then two other birds drop out of the formation and go down and land with the affected bird and stay with that bird until he either can return to the flock or dies, and then they return to the flock. So it's kind of funny, but on my cross-country archery teams, the kids would take this and really identify with it and work as a group and be very close. One would honk and everybody would honk. They would honk. They wouldn't have to say anything. They'd be breathless in the middle of a run as fast as they could. You'd hear them honk in a race and everybody'd honk. You'd have 5 of them together, 4 of them together, and they support